Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Jake from Machinima.com, aka the Ultra Gamer. You might be saying to yourself, why is this guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt? Well, first of all, I like button-up shirts, anime shirts, because they help me feel more comfortable about my body. See, on the folds of the fabric, a little bit of detail gets lost. What detail's that? This detail. Anyway.
Those creatures were Marowaks. They're Pokemon. So, I also see Zakun is making stuff up about me in the chat. That's great, great, great. Well, we're going to be playing some Deep Rock Galactic. I just have to boot it up. Yeah, that's Mr. Sam Hyde. Funny stuff. He's always a funny guy.
Quantum theory dictates that this pumpkin could be in two places at the same time. How is that possible? Science.
Science. Oh, God, that intro's so loud. I don't know why it's so much louder than the rest of the game. But we're playing some Deep Rock Galactic here today. And, you know, before I had talked about doing maybe a big sort of stream about technology. We're sort of going to look over my notes today and talk about, you know, the whole technology thing. You know, is technology good or bad? In other words, that's not exactly the same question, but really what I mean is, has technology been good or bad for the human condition in some way, right? Like Johnny 5K on Trovo, or DLive says it depends. And obviously it does depend. I mean, certainly some technologies has been much more harmful or much more helpful, and also it depends on what your priorities are. But I hope to sort of address the main sort of idea of like technology as a force in the world. Zakun says, you just sound like someone who is retiring after fatherhood. I mean after fatherhood. I mean, well, whatever. Okay. By the way, if you want to play Deep Rock Galactic with me today, then go ahead and join my game if you're on my friends list. Also, let me see here. Let me check my Steam to see if anyone sent any friend requests. I think I got a friend request from someone. I'll accept that. I should show as online and in my game. So if you just join my lobby, you'll be able to play with me. Okay. Let me take a look at this. Mr. Gladius says, I'll miss our talks about game strength space mammoths. Space mammoths. We've talked a lot about space mammoths. I think that could be one of the best things we could ever do. And okay, and Toho.
I needed that.
Johnny 5K says that these mini computers that people carry around is no good. So we're talking about cell phones. Okay, let's see. Click that. Try inviting some random people. O'Neill cylinders. Yeah, we talked a lot about O'Neill cylinders.
Rock solid. Like that. Rock and stone.
KNAT
Rock and stone.
says that his position depends on how technology is used. You can't exactly control how people are going to decide to use it. Well, exactly, right? That's one of the sort of issues, problems. Okay, I tried inviting some people. Let me close this. Okay. And the spectacular MS Paint sketches. Well, we probably will have some MS Paint going on today. I have at least one image that I need for us. So, let me first start this off with a story today. Okay, let's take a look at what everyone has. Oh, 2 people have missions here, but they are 2 different missions. And I have my mission there, which will give me my new weapon. What? And I'm on Driller. What's he have? We could do one of our missions. Any of them would be fine. Let's do Sean's, because I like point extraction. We'll just do Hazard 3, so I can talk easily. And I might, you know, I might get distracted and be talking on stream, and I might have to rely on my teammates. I might have to rely on my teammates to do a lot of the heavy lifting, you know.
Rock and stone.
Okay. John says, is this your final stream, brother? Yes. Yes, this should be the last one. Yesterday was the last one with American Krogan. You know, when I started streaming, it was me and Krogan every time. You know, we were always together. And today will be the last one. Krogan's not here today. So, yesterday was sort of the nostalgia Left 4 Dead with Krogan thing. And today is the we're all playing together thing. Yeah, Slots wasn't able to join. I don't know why. But, well, you know. We'll see what we can do as the stream goes on. Now, Mister says every true libertarian needs their own nuclear arsenal. Yeah, they're recreational nukes. Zakun says he thinks cell phones make people conceal their true identities because the masses are afraid that a joke, opinion, or action is going to be recorded and kept forever. Well, there is certainly something to say about, like, in a very low-tech environment, you know, when you speak your words, no matter how goofy your joke was or inappropriate, like, it's ephemeral, and it goes away after a few seconds. And, you know, people forget it over time, and it really is gone. But you can really sort of crucify someone over a tweet that is years and years old, potentially, now, right? In ways that you wouldn't have been able to in the past. That being said, I mean, there still was situations where people wouldn't let you live something down, right?
We sent in a specialized heavy lifter, and we're expecting heavy resistance, so the lifter's been equipped with heavy armaments, but keep focused.
Oh, it's up there. So, Johnny 5K says, cell phones would be good if they only had phone and GPS. But there's a cost to that, too. I mean, we know that a lot of people, now that they can rely on GPS, there's a lot they seem to, oh my god, have sort of forgotten about basic navigation. I mean, people who rely on GPS certainly aren't building up the skills that some people used to have in terms of getting around and understanding the world without a GPS. Even just being able to read a physical map as a skill is, you know, somewhat diminished. Right? Now, For Real says, depends if technology is inherently good or bad. Parentheses, creator's intention. Other technology depends on how you use it and what purpose. Ooh. All right. Oh my gosh. These. So you see here, just it's like we're in the French Alps. You know, there are these sort of like, the ground is opening up beneath you, and it leaves a big crevice that you can fall into. As the driller, obviously, it's not that big a deal to go into a crevice because you can just drill out. But that's something about the glacial strata we're in. All right.
I'm totally loaded.
Let's. By the way, Gunner, if you can throw up a zip line so we can get these gems up to the platform, that'd be great. Johnny 5K says, thinking if you are in danger, and that can be used to find you. Oh, like cell phones? Yeah. Zekun says, where do we draw the line on what technology means? A bow and arrow is technology, probably changed the world. Exactly. Exactly. My intention today is to suggest on some level that there's technology has been harmful, and that includes the bow and arrow, right? So I want to start off this with a story, right? So let's tell this story. Okay. Now this is a story that was told by Socrates, and I'm going to tell you sort of an abridged version. There was a god in Egypt, and of course the Egyptian king as well. And this god was very clever and would invent things. He would bring his inventions to the king of Egypt to have them adopted by the Egyptian people and the Egyptian society. And the way it would work is the god would invent his objects or whatever, and the Egyptian king would decide how that would likely get used and decide whether it was good and either accept it or reject it. The basic idea I'm getting at here is how the inventor imagines how their invention is going to get used is often wrong, right? So that's why the king was going to be the judge of it. The king was very wise. He would maybe couldn't invent like that god could, but he could tell what these inventions were going to do to his society. Okay? And this god invented something. He invented a lot of things, but one of the things he invented that he was super excited about was writing. He invented the written word, text, printing, all this, he invented writing, and he was super excited about it, right? He, in fact, overstepped his bounds on some level, right? Remember, he's not supposed to be the one interpreting how his inventions will be used. His job is to make the invention. It's the king's job to determine how this is likely going to get used. But he went to the king and he said, "Oh, this is great. This is an elixir of memory. An elixir of memory and wisdom. People will be able to write things down, and they'll never really forget them. It'll stay forever. And they will be wise. They'll be able to read the wise words of other people who have written things. And it'll be great." And then the king reminded him, like, hey, you don't get to tell me what your inventions are good for. It's very common that the inventor misunderstands how their invention will be used. And the king said to the god, "And you're so excited about this writing thing that you actually believe the opposite of what's true about your invention. This isn't an elixir for memory. It's an elixir for forgetfulness, but then reminding. People will rely on this written word instead of their own memory. It's not improving their memory, it's diminishing their memory. And it's not providing them wisdom, it's providing them the illusion of wisdom. These people will read many things, and therefore they will think of themselves as very wise. But they haven't grown in wisdom nearly as much as their perception of themselves as wise. So they will be insufferable to be around. They'll be like, real pompous jerks. So they'll appear wise, and they'll be arrogant and unpleasant. So this story is to get at the idea that obviously writing has clear advantages. It is true that if you write something down, it can be referenced time and time again. We have writings that we've been able to reference now for centuries and millennia. There are things that we would be lost forever had they not been written down, right? So there's clear advantage there. But it's not exactly how someone might imagine it being used when they first invent it. So all this story is just to get at the idea that technology, all of it, including the bow and arrow, the written word, all technology, has its upsides and has its downsides. And there may be times where we say, well, downside or upside, this technology is mostly good and mostly worth it, and we're glad we have it. And there may be other times where we sort of regret it. All right. Let me read some of the chat here. Mr. Gladius says, return to monkey? Maybe. Slot says, do you know about this Nozzix pleasure machine? Not really. We can all get in here and then the thing will end. Zekun says Pharaoh. Yeah, their king would be a Pharaoh. Slot says there'd be no computers today without writing. That's true. Right? Dude. Okay. Gary says, wasn't that Aristotle? Was it? Okay, let me see here. I thought it was Socrates and Adeimantus? Or is it Aristotle and Adeimantus? Adeimantus in the Socratic dialogues. Wait, was it Adeimantus? No. Okay, Egyptian story of writing. Let's see here. Egyptian story of writing, elixir of memory. Plato. Okay. Plato rejects writing by the mouth of Socrates. Yeah, I think it's Socrates. Yeah, that's Socrates. Okay. Not Aristotle. Okay. Let me start our next mission. We already did one of Sean's. We'll do K-Nats here with the XP bonus, and I'll buy us the beer. Oh, someone already got the beers. Nice.
Fortune and glory. Come on, you lazy bastard.
Okay. Let's keep going with my notes here. Now, in real life, we do have some evidence that, when we look at ethnic groups, when we look at tribes of people who don't have writing, they have oral traditions, right? And some of their oral traditions, in terms of how accurate they are and how little they change over long periods of time, it's pretty impressive. And we don't have those nearly as much in groups with writings. So when you look at, for example, the Australian Aborigines and some of their stories about the waters changing, has to deal with ancient changes to the Australian coastline. Australia lost like 20% of its landmass to a rising ocean. Like a huge amount. And those stories have to do with that event, and they are still they are somewhat mythological in sort of structure, but they do retain these elements from this real event. And we're not seeing much of that in our own society. So, like, you could say that you prefer it this way, that you like our all the things we have going on, but certainly we are potentially missing out on something, some of our oral traditions. But this is all just to speak to the general idea that technologies, when the technology is proposed, the technology is generally adopted because there is a clear and obvious advantage to adopting it, right? That's why it gets adopted. But there is a trade-off to every technology, right? There's going to be downsides, and those are a lot of times are hidden downsides that will be hidden for a while, or even potentially hidden for forever, right? We might never truly understand some of the downsides we've suffered because we've adopted certain technologies. That's just the way it is. Whoa. Gotta save this guy. Okay. I mean, if we just consider on some level, how about our current society has a number of technologies. Oh, Prospector. Related to how easy it has made our lives, sedentary lifestyles, modern diets, has enabled an obese population in a way that would never be possible. Like, if, like, that was a worry that people weren't gonna have a few hundred years ago, they would have had other worries, and you could say that their worries were worse or better or whatever. Oops. And this is funny, we have a prospector here. You could hear this guy say, that's a prospector, it's taking our jobs. In this game, this is the automated... So our company uses dwarf labor, right? We're dwarves. And the rival company actually has automated everything. They don't pay employees, they just have robots do everything. And if the rival company is able to take over the planet, then we'll all be out of work. But anyway. That is a... So anyway. Now, at least we've established the idea that technology has upsides and downsides, often has obvious and apparent upsides with more hidden downsides. There are reasons for why we might not truly grasp some of the negative consequences of the technologies we've adopted, even after we've adopted them. So hopefully I've made that point sufficiently. David says, I'd love to join in, but I have no idea how to play Deep Rock Galactic well. Well, I mean, you know, if you ever want to join at some point, if someone drops, you can join. I'm only have it on Hazard 3. Okay. Let's take a look at my next notes here. Now, let's think about human evolution. And, you know, there's this image I posted on Twitter. Let me see if I can drop that. Oh, gosh, did I close this other window? No, I didn't. Okay, so there's this image I posted on Twitter. Let me bring it up. There it is. The idea that I'm getting at here is, for the vast majority of people, urbanism has been a fairly new and novel condition. A lot of us, a lot of the human race, our ethnies, have spent millennia in mostly agrarian pasts. For most of us, even who are living in urban environments, that may only be a decade or maybe a few centuries at the high end.
Don't let the prospector get away.
The vast majority of people haven't been... Like, there would be very few families we could find that have, you know, partial genetic material going back. Like, and I say partial, I mean like, I don't know, 10% or more. Going back through millennia of urbanism, right? Like 2,000 years of urban environments or something like that. The thing is, while I have this chart here, and I might need to bring it up, make it a little bit bigger. So you have, like, the modern day, you have urban environments really taking over, being a much larger piece of the human experience, and these rural agrarian environments really significantly decreasing quite suddenly. You know, it was just like 100 years ago that the most average person in the United States lived on a farm, right? That being said, I will say that if I... Let me bring up paint if I can. Properties. Where's my paint program? Okay, let me see here. Oh, it's up. It's up. Okay. You know, if we were to really talk about the human condition, it would look more like this, right? You'd have you'd have this. You have tens of thousands of years of hunter-gathering. Then you have then like most of us switch over to agrarianism, and now it's like, boom, suddenly urbanism, right? So we could say, on some level, that the human animal is a hunter-gatherer animal, right? This is a large part of our genetic past, and certainly we have changed genetically since agrarian lifestyles have come about, but we haven't been necessarily completely remade. Now, let's think about people, modern day people. You have some people... Gosh, what are all these dots? Oh, okay. I think I know what those dots are. You have people, for example, diagnosed with ADHD. ADHD, you know, you can get electroencephalogram put on your head, map brain activity. Now, some people will say it's been overdiagnosed, and those people might be right? Especially in, like, young boys. And there's some economics to all these drug prescriptions. We all know that. So I understand the skepticism that some people may have. But, who's that? Oh, that's one of ours. Okay. Now, whatever has happened, ultimately, we know that to some degree, there is a portion of the population that has a differing neurophysiology, differing brain activity, and it largely probably has to do with the neurotransmitter dopamine, right? There are various hypotheses, though, for why this difference exists. One of the reasons, when you look at any organisms and you say, well, gosh, I see this thing in this organism, including like a variation of neurotransmitters, you say, well, why does this variation exist? Well, sometimes the variation exists because it was evolutionarily advantageous for it to exist at one point or another, right? So one thing that people have done is they've looked at some of the genes that we find associated with, like, ADHD. For example, like the DRD, dopamine receptor D genes, DRD2, DRD4, this sort of stuff. And if we look at, there's a tribe in Kenya, I forget what it is, but they looked at this tribe, and they had settled portions of their tribes and still hunter-gatherer portions of their tribe. There's a paper out there. It's called Dopamine Receptor Genetic Polymorphisms and Body Composition in Undernourished Pastoralists. An exploration of nutrition indices among nomadic and recently settled Ariel men of North Kenya. That's ARIAAL, so double AL at the end. So the point is, they found that when it comes to genes like DRD4,
Well done.
which
Data will never fall into the
change
hands of our
the
rivals.
dopamine receptors in the brain, whether your configuration, your gene configuration was adaptive or maladaptive, whether it was helping you or hurting you, depended somewhat on if you were settled or not. So if you were DRD 7R positive, that actually gave you a healthier body composition if you were nomadic. But if you were settled, then it didn't. So this is where we get into a topic on, like, okay, we have some part of human physiologies, human genetics, that's been selected for because of our past conditions, and now our current conditions, our current technological environment conflicts with those genes, right?
Shield charged and ready.
Okay. Now, DRD4 isn't the only gene linked to ADHD. It's heavily associated with it. That's why I'm bringing it up. 7R is 7 repeat allele version of DRD4. So let me take a look at this tweet, right? Let me see if I can bring up this tweet. Here's another thing I wanted to show. All right. So I don't care what we really think of this guy or what he's really saying, but like Caleb is saying ADHD advice from people who don't understand ADHD. Just get a planner. But he says that actually helpful ADHD advice is the only way to ever reliably find motivation to clean your room is to invite someone over so your crippling fear of embarrassment overrides your broken dopamine receptors. And I don't know if your dopamine receptors are actually broken. But I mean, what is he really saying? This person is expressing that social pressure and being close to other people is a critical factor for him in allowing this sort of normal behavior, like cleaning up after yourself. Well, if we were all living in a hunter-gatherer tribe, or even maybe a social context that was intimate but not hunter-gatherer, possibly like European manorialism in the feudal era, maybe this person would not be having that problem. You know, maybe someone with ADHD doesn't need a prescription for amphetamines, like Adderall. Maybe they could really use a prescription for a traditional lifestyle. Maybe they need a prescription for strong communal bonds and constant connection with their family. Social exposure allows them to function in the way that they want to, and the way that is helpful, right? So rather than sitting on the phone screen and dealing with pseudo-social interaction all day, we wouldn't necessarily need some of these drugs to some degree if we were just living a more traditional lifestyle. So, now, this is not me saying that we should all become feudal serfs, just because feudal serfdom has some theoretical advantage in terms of, like, constant social interactions being more similar to ancient prehistory evolutionary environments. But it is simply stating that, in some ways, obviously those people didn't deal with some of the problems we face today. They did have other problems, right? And we could say, well, you know, as bad as certain things are, the alienation, all this, you know, at least we don't have to suffer famine, so let's keep the technology. I mean, that's a perspective you can take, but at least we could admit that there are certain elements to the modern environment that are sort of uniquely harmful in ways that our ancestors simply just would not have experienced. All right. All right. Let's take a look here.
It's a menace. Kill it.
Where is it going to put it? Oh, it's going to put it there. That's fine, I guess. Let me take a look at
Fuel
chat.
cells have arrived. Connect them to the drop pod with the charge cable.
I ordered a resupply.
Hang in there. Supplies are on the way.
Let there be light.
Okay. Zekun says, can you do the same diagram regarding religion? Well, I think we all know what that would look like.
Time to restock. You're fast, bug, but I'm faster. I'm taking some of the ammo.
Okay, let's see here. David says, humans have an extremely complex neurotransmitter system. Yeah, that's true.
Weapon ready.
Jakun says, even throughout history, the settled societies recruited nomads to be their warriors and mercenaries. Victorian says, it's not the environment per se, it's just cat lady school teachers that don't like boys. I mean, there's some of that, for sure. But like, if we have a society where part of your job means staring at spreadsheets, well, regardless of the cat lady school teachers, we do have some sort of, like, genuinely different environment than our evolutionary history, right? Like, they just simply never stared at spreadsheets the way we do. And there could be consequences to giving people jobs where they stare at spreadsheets all day. David says, if I have a close friend over, my house is a dump. If it's not so close friend, I spend hours. I don't think that's an ADH thing. It's probably just a human thing. Well, I think we, each of us are different. And here's the thing, like, I think, for example, in our evolutionary past, it made sense to have some amount of difference within your tribe, right? And what I mean by that is, like, we do know that some people seem predisposed to being night owls, and other people being more disposed to being the early bird, right? Early bird catches the worm. Some people, you know, just gravitate towards that a little bit more or a little bit less. And that makes sense from a sort of ancient tribe perspective, that you would have, you know, some people, but a small portion, who just prefer to be up at night, so that way someone's always awake, you know? It's like, if 10% of your tribe or 5% of your tribe just prefers to be awake at night, that's good, because most people can be up during the day when light is the best and they can be most productive. But keeping a couple people awake at night, aware of what's happening, being able to warn people, being able to take care of the children who wake up in the middle of the night, you know, it's like, this can be helpful to have a small portion of your population sort of what we could call abnormal, or, you know, what some people would call, like, neurodivergent or whatever. It just makes sense to not have everyone be exactly the same in this sort of issue. Have some variation. But when it comes to a lot of corporate environments, a lot of times that variation can be quite negative in that environment. Let's see here.
Fuel cells fully charged. Drop pod engine powering.
Ando says lots of bot spam in that chat. Oh, some other chat you're talking about?
Hey, I ain't one of them. Tree climbing halfway.
David says, I'm an electrical engineer.
Pod reactor spooling up.
Only about 50% of the work is graphs and spreadsheets. I prefer hands-on work. Right.
Here's something for you to play with.
Onboard mainframe booting.
Now, Jacob says, you can get used to staying up late. Although it takes time to adjust to it. Right. Definitely. Like, humans are definitely flexible individually. Like, one person can choose to adopt a later lifestyle or a, you know, more sort of day-based lifestyle. Night-based or day-based. But there does seem to be some people who much more gravitate towards certain lifestyles without provocation or provoking. You know, with no poking and prodding or changing. This is just what they gravitate to. And possibly, like, you know, we do know that, like, people who work the night shift at factories and stuff often have significantly worse health outcomes, right? And it may be that there are certain groups of people who aren't as adversely affected by it as others, right? There could be sort of the more night owl person who's just genuinely more of a night owl, sort of genetically speaking, and they don't suffer nearly as much as trying to take this sort of day-based person and forcing them in that role. Mr. Gladius says, what's this? He just read a line. It was a Roman who said that fear is the only thing that keeps people from committing evil. I wouldn't say it's the only thing, but it is certainly a big one. Okay, so let's keep going with my notes here. So the basic idea, just so we're clear, is organisms evolve via natural selection to adapt to their conditions. Placing organisms, yes, even humans, into highly novel environments may lead to novel behavior. Conditions may select against a lot of the traits that have been, there are, well, just take a look at it like this. If you have, how do I, oh, okay, I already have the assignment. Okay. If we take a human behavior like hoarding, in the modern day, you have these people hoarding newspapers, filling their houses with things, you know, junk. This would have been impossible in the past, right? Having someone, let's say millennia ago, with this really strong impulse to collect and to maintain and to catalog and to categorize in your tribe might be a big benefit, right? In the past. Because things were scarce. So hoarding type behavior could have been beneficial. But imagine a child today raised by those same parents who have that hoarding tendency. Now their house is filled with garbage, potentially even unsanitary garbage, right? So what would have been a trait that would have been helpful to the child, like for the child perspective, having a hoarding parent would have been nice in the past, and now it's like a nightmare. Children raised in hoarding environments today are more likely to just die, right? Than, you know, children whose parents don't hoard. So, technology creates novel conditions. Novel conditions may adversely affect an organism. There can be somewhat of a genetic incompatibility. So, like, an incompatibility between the genetics of an organism and the environment. So, like, again, let's say you have some genetics that contribute to a hoarding personality, and that environment contains a lot of scarcity of important resources. You and that environment are sort of matched. You're fit. You're paired for each other. But if you're dropped into a highly abundant environment, where nothing that's really needed is hard to get, there's a mismatch, right?
Things about to go boom.
And the question is, what's going to happen when there's a mismatch? Are we going to change all of society to fit the hoarders? Or are we going to demand that the hoarders change? This is a really big, important idea, is that when there's an incompatibility between a human and our technological environment, a lot of the time it's the human we expect to change, to medicate until they are different, or F them. Maybe they should just die off. That's the perspective in a lot of the day. a lot of today. Is like, oh, there's a problem between the human and the cell phone? Well, I want the cell phone. So that human should just get medicated or die or something. Take your pills.
I called for Molly.
It's an anti-human perspective, right? To demand the human to change. To have jobs where... To have jobs where you gotta stare at spreadsheets all day and people doing them are miserable. And you say, well, here's your depression pill. Just take this and do your job. I mean, it's an anti-human perspective. We're prioritizing the maintenance and preservation of this spreadsheet work over the human.
Goddamn overheating.
Oh, man. I'll get it at some point.
Access provided.
See? All I had to do was wait for your zipline, and then I'd get it. Okay. Let's take a look at chat for a second. Okay, Zakun says, my grandmother was a hoarder who hid apples for a year, even when they were all rotten. Oh, apples. Okay. So, let's just imagine. Oh. You want me to dig here? Let me just pop this open. Let's see, where... Okay, they just have a little loop they're on. They can probably grab that, right? Let's just imagine a time, an ancient time, where it was rough, and people were only barely subsisting, just barely feeding themselves. So basically everything that they were doing was based upon subsistence. Everything they were doing was like trying to feed themselves. There was no real excess. What the hell are you doing? K-Nat, you jerk. Tried to blow me up. Obviously they couldn't focus on music or any other component other than just existing. Everyone had to be actively involved in the process of furthering their own subsistence. Now, if they find themselves more productive, more prosperous, right, they could have people no longer participate in that progress, in that process of subsistence, right? So now, rather than 100% of your population focused on basic survival and acquiring food, maybe only 90%, which frees up the other 10% to do something else, right? Once you have 10% of your people free to just do other things, that's when you can, well, you can do all sorts of other things. You can take time creating stories. You can also create weapons for hunting, but also weapons to fight against other tribes, take their land, establish complex social orders, right? Now, and that's an important thing, though. So if someone has the productive capability to create these highly complex social orders and technology used for warfare... Whoops. Oh, gosh. I'm stuck in the goop. I need to get to this stupid thing.
This ain't what I signed up for.
Alright. Okay. It's important that technology can help you win against a rival tribe, because what that means is that your tribe has to engage in some amount of technological advancement, or you're gonna lose, right? Like, it's not an option. If other people are engaging in technology and you're not, you are, on some level, taking an action that will ultimately lead to your demise, or your you being conquered, right? So killed or ruled, right?
Contact!
one of those two things is going to happen if you refuse to engage in technological progress while they continue to engage in it, right? I think we all recognize that as, like, an inevitable thing. Like, even if you have neighbors who are nice, that niceness might not extend forever. And if they grow in population, and now there's a competition for resources, you end up in a situation where, like, their great-great-grandkids are looking at you and they say, well, yeah, well, why do you have so much land for so few people? And it's like, well, we used to have the same population, but now you grew so much. People don't... That, like, it's inevitable that technologically sophisticated groups will dominate non-technologically sophisticated groups. And you can, like, look at that and say you don't like it. You can be frustrated about that. But it is what's happening.
The wave is almost over. Wipe out what's left.
Okay. Let's take a look at chat for a second.
I'm taking some of the ammo.
Slot says, my family used to say, there's starving kids in Africa about unfinished food. There's literally hoarding for people across the globe. Exactly. You're hoarding because of things that are happening somewhere else in the world. Any excuse to hoard. Yeah. Now, obviously, you as a citizen, you know, someone could say, well, while you don't... While we require some amount of technological advancement to make sure we're not conquered by other people who are willing to engage in that technological advancement, someone might say, well, that still doesn't necessitate us having, you know, smartphones and engaging in, you know, petty sort of fakery on social media and this sort of degenerate social activity, right? And they're right. I mean, just look at the Apollo missions. I mean, we put a man on the moon, and we didn't need cell phones. We didn't need cell phones for that. Right? Who had a cell phone then? When was the first cell phones? I don't think there were cell phones yet. I mean, there was radios. There was the Motorola. I mean, you had a CB radio for sure. You know, radio in the car, but not a phone in the car. There was no car phones yet, I don't think. Okay, I'm just gonna go like this. So it is true that on some level, like, we don't need to let technology do what it has done to our social lives just to advance our military capabilities, let's say. But there is a problem. You do need it to be a bigger part of your life as time goes on, especially in what you do for work and business. I mean, just look at the Amish. You know, Amish, Mennonites, you have different groups of them, and they'll accept certain levels of technology sort of like within their homes. But they've increasingly computerized their businesses and their work, because that's inevitable. Like, you have to do that. Let's just think about it like this. So obviously, you need... So the government is who's conducting war, right? The government has to use some amount of, like, what we could call excess wealth, right? So, like, beyond what we're using to feed ourselves and stuff, the government uses some extra wealth to fund their technology, their armies that need to be built bigger, right? And you as a citizen, of course, shoulder a tax burden, right? To pay for that. And it's possible for some individuals to pay no taxes, right? You know, like, oh, well, you know, this or that. there's little exceptions here, embargo. Yes, but the sum of your citizens must meet a tax burden, right? Including hidden taxes like inflation. You know, we couldn't all... Like, there are people in, like, Alaska that can go with subsistence lifestyles, and they actually have, like, subsistence hunting and fishing licenses. If you have the subsistence fishing license, you can take a lot more fish. I mean, you don't... A lot of times you're not working. You're really feeding yourself with that, and you might not be paying much, if anything, in taxes, depending on what you're doing outside of that. But, like, if everyone tried to go do that, the government would stop us. Like, they'd be like, no, you can't all do this. Like, we need you paying taxes. You can't all go engage in this sort of traditional lifestyle. The tax burden, therefore, creates a floor that, en masse, criminalizes low-tech lifestyles, right? If a low-tech lifestyle is less productive than a high-tech lifestyle, it creates less excess. The tax burden creates a floor. If you're not at least a certain level of technology in producing a certain amount of excess, your lifestyle is illegal. At least for the whole population. And it may be that there's only a few people engaged in it, and, you know, like, exceptions, whatever, sure. You can come at me with the exceptions, but, like, it's creating a floor. Your tax burden creates a floor for your productivity. So we can't, as, like, Americans or Europeans or as humans, we can't all be like, all right, everybody, let's go back to the forest. I mean, the people in the government would stop you. I mean, even if, like, if we ignore the, well, some other group nearby will try and conquer you kind of deal, your own government won't let you do that. Like, your own government is going to stop you from doing that. It's criminal. It is criminal to be too low-tech. It is illegal to live that way. Societally. So, what we said before about that person possibly not needing a subscription, a prescription for amphetamines. What I was saying about maybe what that person needs is a prescription for a traditional lifestyle. Maybe what that person needs is a prescription for strong communal bonds in their tribe. Well, that prescription, if enough people needed it, if on some level, if we all could use that prescription, then it's illegal. Because it fails, it would engage us in lifestyles that would fail to meet our tax burden. Okay, so once I drilled us to the drop pod, I'll look at chat to see what you guys are saying about my whole little thing here. Huh. Interesting drop pod placement. And I'm right below a room here. Yeah, there's Molly. And I'm not in a super big hurry, because Molly isn't at the drop pod yet. And I don't like to beat Molly by too much. And right about there, we can start drilling up. And if you drill up at an angle like this, your engineer can block off the path below you, if they want. Especially if Molly's already through. Oh my god. There's goop here. Should have drilled deeper, so we could have avoided the goop. I forgot about the goop. Look at that, perfect timing. Okay, let's read chat.
Make it snappy, team. The drop pod won't hang around forever.
Needs a new pair of steel rocket and stone forever.
Retrieving escape pod.
Okay.
Rock and roll and stone.
Loken says technology is good, but it must be kept in check lest it bring about a dark age of technology. Mr. says the US didn't dominate the Taliban, though. You're right. True. I mean, I'd say there's a lot of factors that go into that, but if they were hunter-gatherers, I think we can all admit that the gap would be too big. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I think you will understand what I'm saying too.
Excellent work.
Okay.
We think you're ready to handle...
Zekun says, the Amish limit their phone usage to work, though. Right, exactly. And there can be, like, there can be a lot of things that we decide to do to limit our usage of technology in our personal lives for our own well-being, and I think we should probably do that. Right? Slot says, politics are technology. They are a social technology. And there are costs to it. Victorian says, if the government prints money, why can't they just keep a certain percentage of it for itself and not just tax people? Well, they do, right? But that inflation is a tax, ultimately. Like, the fact is, like, if we ignore money for a second, right? The government needs some people to engage in activity that advances their military might and advances their technological capabilities. But if everyone were to focus on subsistence, obviously they could not get anywhere. So they need to be able to have people working on the things they want worked on. If they reduce the value of money through inflation by printing it and spend some of it themselves, they are, in some ways, redirecting what would happen in the economy if they did not do that. So inflation is a tax, and they do spend some of the money they're creating. And, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like they use the money to... Like, they don't... The money does not become the stuff they need. They use the money to pay people to do the stuff they need. Zekun says the Taliban uses assault rifles, rocket launchers, armored vehicles. Yes, they do. A lot of technology there. Okay. There is a gulf between the tech of the Taliban and the U.S., but there's also, it's like, area they're more familiar with and area we're less familiar with. Like, yeah, there are ways to bridge the gaps. There are protocols to the American military and how things go. There's wastefulness within the American military. So if you have so Randy Weaver died recently. His wife was stubborn and they killed her. So being stubborn works, but you can't be too far behind technologically. So, while the Amish live simpler lives, especially in their homes, they have been forced to adopt newer technologies for their businesses, especially. And the Amish are way more advanced than past hunter-gatherers that make up our evolutionary origins. At the best, the Amish reveal that there's sort of a game of musical chairs, right? Where your society can't go back to a way it used to be. But there might be a few open chairs for some people to kind of get halfway there, right? If we all moved into small communities bartering with each other, and the government couldn't advance the stuff they need to advance, the government would step in to quash those efforts. You know, your family could maybe do something like that, but not everyone's family. Okay. I'm going to start this assignment. And who's got an assignment here? Oh, God, I hate that one. KNet? Oh, eggs. Okay, we're doing Ambros's.
Drop pod is cleared. Warm up. Time to get to work.
Let me... Marvelous says Sentinel Island tribe would get wiped off the map. True. So Sentinel Island is a...
It is lost at dice.
Sentinel Island is an island in the Indian Ocean. There's a primitive group of people there who is... They're like... They have been contacted, but not in a long time. And when people get to the... People get near the island, the Sentinel Island people attack, right? So it's basically just a group of primitive humans with no connection to the outside world, and they're just living as, you know, hunter-gatherers or whatever.
I'm too young to die. Rock and roll and stone.
Johnny 5K says main population don't probably not value the same thing than America. You'd have to rephrase that. Let me take a look at what else I wrote here.
And we're sending in a refinery for you to fill. Get it cranking, and let's pump those deposits dry.
Okay.
Get to work,
So we've discussed the idea. Well, we got all sorts of nonsense here. Do you want to fight this? So,
Stand your ground. Give no quarter.
Find the nitro for ammo.
Anton says the Taliban started to use all the military tech Americans left behind. Well, you got to keep in mind that the Taliban was partly funded and created by the United States government in the past, wasn't it? Or certain members of them? I forget. A lot of the groups that America has ended up fighting are people that, like, previously that America funded. Just as a general rule. Oh my gosh. So, Zakun says, the Amish are not entirely anti-technology. They oppose reliance on power plants and the government. Electricity is acceptable to many of them if it's a personal generator producing power. Well, I mean, each sort of group is different. I'm not going to get into the specifics of them all. I feel like the general rule is good enough. That they're trying to go with technologically less advanced lifestyles or opt out of what is going on.
Request accepted. Stand clear. Pump jack inbound.
Okay. So at least we've gotten through a few main points here, right? The first point being that, listen, there's an upside and downside to technology. All of it, including writing, right? The written word has some negative component. Do I have to shoot this? I want one of these guys to kill it. So I think we're all more or less in agreement with that basic fact. Let me see here.
Right here.
Bam. Okay, let's see. What was my next point? My next point was that the human organism arose in conditions that are different than the conditions we observe today, right? As in, our genetic history came about in a different environment than, you know, the corporate filling out spreadsheets environment. I think we all can agree with that. Humans suffer novel problems when living in modern novel conditions. There, on some level, can be a genetic incompatibility between a person and their environment, right? That's the one that I feel like, you know, some people might disagree with, or we might need to work on. But is that, do you guys think that that's a thing? Let's see. Is this where the last thing goes? No, it's not. So, for example, you have the hoarder in the... Like, the hoarder, if there are genetics related to being a hoarder and gathering up things and collecting them and amassing them, there is maybe a past evolutionary environment where that was super helpful, but when things have become highly available, that's all of a sudden become maladaptive and harmful. So, I don't know if we all agree on it, but I'm suggesting that there's a genetic incompatibility on some level between people and potential environments, including our current modern environment.
Another pipeline established. You just need to set up one more, and then we can start the extraction sequence.
And what's important is that when that conflict is found, they're going to push, and in general, like, the technology is not what's going to be adapted for the human, okay? The human's going to be adapted for the technology, to a large degree, right? You're depressed at your spreadsheet stub, here's your pill, right? Okay, so there's got to be an opening to this cave that we've missed. Okay, it's right over here. So, and that to me is a big deal. The fact that if there's a problem where the human and the technology were to conflict, the fact that the human is what's altered rather than the technology is a big deal to me.
Pump jack's here. Let's get it hooked up to the refinery.
Okay, here. Let's just drill back to the refinery. Let's see here. Dakun says, have you ever seen Jared Taylor's spreadsheet debates? No? Alright. So what did they do with this last one? They got it going around here and down here and then ending? Okay. We'll knock it out.
Pipe construction here.
Because I have my tunnel right here, right? Where is it? Oh, here. And here we go.
Detected. Light him up, miners.
Oh no. Let's quick get this in. Perfect. Get rid of these.
I killed the loot bug.
Swarm! Repeat, swarm!
Guys, rock and stone.
How about that? I can knock some of these down. I'm sure people will grab it as they come through here. Give me this.
Secondary objective completed. Fine job.
And here we go. Just have to ride this back home. And here we go. Oh, here we go. Johnny 5K says, and now they want to link our brains to computers. Yeah, when Elon Musk starts talking about that, I'm thinking like, that's not, no, I don't think that's going to be a good thing, you know. So, again, if you have to adopt technological advancements so you can be more productive, so you can hit your tax burden, what's going to happen when you hitting your productivity requirements includes you competing against other people who have augmented their brains, right? Well, then it's if what I'm saying is correct about like more primitive lifestyles become functionally illegal because they fail to hit the legally required tax burden, therefore not augmenting your brain and staying as sort of a normal, typical human becomes an illegal act. You see what I'm suggesting here? Becomes illegal for you to resist, you know, the neural link, if it's Elon Musk's, or, you know, some sort of other, you know, brain augmentation if it's someone else. So on some level, being a normal biological human becomes illegal.
Supply pod launched. Better stand back.
All right. I'll deposit this and we'll start it up.
Resupply arrived. Go restock.
Grabbing it. Still much
The liquid morkite is being extracted. Refinery and all pump jacks are working at full capacity.
Deus Ex will not be sci-fi anymore, says Anton. Well, exactly. And Deus Ex tried to hit on this topic a little. They didn't, like, push it real hard. You know, there was this girl in Deus Ex, because I played that on stream, Deus Ex Human Revolution, and she needed an augment to keep up. And this basic story was that she had basically turned into a loan shark, or sort of some sort of predatory lending apparatus of a criminal organization, and one of the quests that you went on was to potentially, like, pay her loan off or intimidate her lender into sort of letting, you know, I don't know, on canceling the loan from the books or whatever. Johnny 5K says, "We are Borg. Resistance is futile." Okay, so what else I was saying? So you have, you know, two pressures that make technology somewhat inevitable and irresistible. You have the sort of societal defense against competing groups if they engage in technology to levels that you don't. You potentially put yourself at risk for conquering, enslavement, or just death at their hands. And then there's the internal pressure where you need to adopt technology so you can maintain your tax burden and be competitively successful with the in-group for the stuff that you need to compete with each other for, like employment, right? So on some level, like, you might look at this and be quite black-pilled, because with both of those pressures, we're dealing with something that's, like, insurmountable, right? I mean, like, you know, if we come to the conclusion that, hey, like, technology's super bad and it's, like, making our lives way worse, okay, well, that you still have to defend yourself from the outgroup, and you still have to be successful within the in-group, and technology has become, like, a critical part of both of those. So even if it's the worst thing in the world, you still have to do it, right? The only thing I would just bring us back to is, yes, but we could, like, one of the groups that has found the best best balance for this would be some of the Amish, particularly the Amish that most strongly reject technology in their personal life, but allow some of it at their work, right? The ones who insist that they have nothing electrical in their house, but have an electronic point-of-sale system at their furniture store. You see what I'm saying? Like, that group has probably found a better balance. And that group is, on some level, kind of looks like the past, where, like, when you look at Apollo missions, you know, obviously we had some pretty amazing technology to go to the moon. And a lot of people's homes really didn't have a lot of electronics in it. We were a little bit more in line with certain values. You know, we didn't need that level of technology in our house. And obviously, even now, like, okay, the level of technology in the James Webb's telescope is not in your house. But, like, it just reinforces the idea that we don't need cell phones, and we don't need, you know, social media, gaming algorithms playing with your behavior just to go to the moon and explore space and to advance our people. See what I'm saying? This doesn't solve the problem that, in some ways, I think technology is really harmful. But, you know, at least we can take some of the more recent nasty stuff and get it out of our lives as much as reasonably possible, while still being able to meet our tax burden and being able to, you know, not have your group conquered by some other group, right? Okay.
Preserve your bullets!
Let me take a look at chat here. Gladius says, do they have the means and resources to link us all to a computer? Well, not yet. But that's certainly what we're working towards. Slot says, will future people even have thoughts like this? I don't know. Victorian says Mennonites. They're like Amish, but less adverse to technology. Well, and I've never like, I know that the two groups exist, and every time I bring them up, someone is like always telling me that there's some other distinction that I'm missing. So my approach has been, think of the people who are more on the side of like completely pushing technology out of their personal lives. And when I say technology, obviously at this point we're not talking about writing anymore, right? When we started this conversation, I was talking about like, hey, there's a downside to the written word. At this point, we're accepting like, oh, yep, writing's going to exist, and regardless of its negative consequences, we're going with it or whatever. But, you know, yeah. I mean, obviously, the way I started this conversation in terms of highly skeptical of technology, we're already conceding an incredible amount of ground if we're talking about living like Amish or Mennonites, right? An incredible amount of ground. But, whatever. Oh, me and Ando have that same one, but I hate that one. We might do Ambros's. Yeah, because I'm not doing... So you can see here, this is an egg hunt, which I hate. And egg hunts, you either hunt 4, 6, or 8 eggs, and his is an 8-egger. It might switch to something new in 5 minutes, so maybe we'll check later. This is going to be a Volatile Guts and Exploder Infestation mission. So Volatile Guts mean when the bugs die, they explode. And exploders are bugs that explode. So there's going to be a lot of explosions on this one. And I'll get us a beer. Marvelous says, see ya. Well, Marvelous, thanks for showing up. As a lot of you know, this is going to be my last stream. You know. So, goodbye, Dex. Johnny 5K says, cave paintings are okay, though. Yeah, I think so.
Ooh, that's nice. Yeah. Could you please hurry up? We're leaving. Rock and stone, yeah.
Drop sequence initiated.
All right.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Oh,
Cheers, mate. Lock and load. Give me a ride
rock
in
and
the damn
stone, you
stone.
beautiful dwarf.
That's it, lad. Rock and stone.
Victorian says, I'm a bit skeptical of the claim Aborigines can memorize entire libraries worth of information. Well, certainly, if anyone says that, I'd be highly skeptical of that. But if like, as far as I understand, it is accurate to say that people with no writing systems do have oral traditions that are stronger, more robust, and change less than groups who do have writing, which makes sense to me. So for many of us who come from ethnies who have been writing for millennia, all millennia or longer at least, we don't necessarily have stories through oral traditions that have been told with, that have been told hardly at all. I would certainly not want to exaggerate it to an unreasonable degree, like memorizing a library of information, but I would say that regardless, there's negatives to everything. All the technology, the social technology, the more sort of typical electronics, that sort of stuff. Like, Ando says, will you be playing DRG off stream still, or dropping gaming retentively? So, I mean, if you're asking if you're going to see me on Steam, you probably won't see me on Steam very much. Like, you're probably, like, probably not going to see me. Alright, grab this. Throw this closer. Gotta click on this.
We're rich. We're rich. Ready.
Okay, well, I'm not going to comment on that, David.
Another day at the office.
We're rich.
Let's see here. Get this. And that. See, I can use this gun sometimes. Oh, come on. Felt the pressure from that bug. Oh. There goes my excuse. Oh, no. What? Alright. That was a bad throw. Good. Grab this. Nice. Most of that. Excellent. Zekun says, what oral tradition do you believe that science regards as false? I don't know what you mean, really. Anton says, what brought about this decision to depart? I'm going to be doing some other things. I'm not going to be, like, sort of like what I've built in terms of, like, I don't say what I've built, like what I've built up. I haven't really built up much in terms of embargo, right? Intellectual embargo, the sort of the main channel, and gaming embargo, the sort of side little thing, right? Like, that's didn't really accomplish much here, but I'm gonna be doing other things. Not this. Embargo is going away. Look at that! Look at that! That was a really good one.
Supplies are on the way.
Oh, damn it, there's a pebble in my boot.
Johnny 5K says, "Are you going full Amish now?" No, I'm not. Unfortunately. I'd probably be better off if I did. Let's see if I can grab this out of here. Is that one over there? I think we got the things we need, right? Oh, we got fossils. Hey, Nat, see if you can grab fossils. We need 3. And then we should have everything else.
Rock and stone in the heart.
Alright, because if KNAT can get the 3 fossils, then we're good.
Hit the launch controls to return the minehead.
Oh my gosh, look at all this stuff. Oh, that one's someone's pet.
Bug, I guess you're cute.
Let's see here. David... Oh, Zekun says, Saxons believe they were descended from Alexander the Great's armies. Romans believe they were Trojans. Poles believe they are Scythians. Hungarians believe they are Huns. Oh. I don't really have anything like that, really, that I'm... I mean, how about this? I believe in the cosmic hunt. I believe in the cosmic hunt. I'll tell you that. Like, it's like, is it a true story? Well, no, it's obviously not a true story, but I very much believe it. It's totally true. And I'll tell you the story of the cosmic hunt after this. I'll see if I can pull up a reconstruction of the original cosmic hunt. If not, I'll direct you to a video that you can watch a good one. Zakun says American Krogan gonna return, though. Well, so American Krogan's not done with all of his stuff. Like, American Krogan exists. If you follow his Subscribestar, he recently made an announcement about his next project, right? So, he's doing his thing. But my gaming thing started with him. Me and him gaming together, like, once or twice a week. That's how this channel started. And so I figured yesterday we'd also, like, do that one last time. So Krogan's not going anywhere. Oh, is this a hidden room? Anything good down here? Huh, not really. Oh, God.
Think you could kill me? Well, think again.
Well, let me see here. 20 seconds for the pod to arrive. Let me see if I can search for a quick second. I gotta find Cosmic Hunt. Cosmic Hunt Reconstruction. Or I could just tell you what I know from memory. Uh-oh. We got a thing here. So it's gonna be this way. And
Don't let him flank you.
okay, and down. Never mind. Down here.
Drop pod departing in T-minus 3 minutes.
Hurry up.
All right.
Get bored.
Sticky boo.
David says, did you ever have players over voice chat on stream for your Sunday streams, or was that too much of liability? Yeah, I never did the voice chat thing on the Sunday streams. You know, for other people, like American Krogan, who I invited to the Saturday streams, obviously we'd be in voice chat together, but when it came to just, like, totally random people joining voice chat, I didn't, you know, I wanted to make it fairly, like, when you... like for Sunday stuff, when I was like saying, hey, you can join my game, I was just letting anyone add me so they could come join. And I didn't want to make that like a big vetting process, which means that I turned off all the voice chat stuff. All right, let's see here. Cosmic Hunt, Reconstruction. Let's take up, okay, one second. Cosmic Hunt, Cave Painting. Well, I mean, check it out. If you want to hear about the Cosmic Hunt, I'm just gonna link you a good video. I want to click on that and then mute it. I like this guy's channel, Brackenford. So he's got a video on the Cosmic Hunt. So if you want to know about the oral tradition that it's not true, but I totally believe it. There you go. When he tells the story of the reconstructed Cosmic Hunt, that's a fun story. What do we got here? This will probably be the last mission. I could do this one. Ambrose's double XP thing. Yeah.
Drop pod is ready. Time to leave.
Why is this so fun? Can't wait to try it out.
Hey. Yeah, you gotta... What's going on here? You order or not? What is this? This isn't the beer we need. Bekun says, I remember when I used to watch Fuentes when he did the call-in show. One time he accidentally put himself into the waiting group. Everyone started talking to him. Yo, Nick, it was a disaster. Yeah. Well, and I always thought it would be neat to put, Oh, you'll probably shrink in a second. So, when it comes... So, I always thought it would be neat to take the chat and put it on screen, right? If you take the chat and put it on screen, I think that's kind of a cool thing for streams to do. The only thing is, I haven't done it on my stream just because of the liability, you know. I've had a number of leftists come in here and say all sorts of terrible things about me or whatever, and I didn't want to run into a situation where, you know, they come in to say all sorts of things that aren't true. Okay, let's just start this. We'll start this mission.
Galaxy's finest.
You know, at the end of the day, you're gonna have people throw around profanities to get me banned. So that's why I never put the chat on the screen. And this would have made a lot of sense for me to put the chat on the screen because I stream to multiple platforms, right? Like, sometimes people watch me on Twitch and they don't see all of the YouTube chat. So if I had put the chat on screen, then everyone would get to see it. There'd be a certain nice thing about that. But at the end of the day, I'm talking about political stuff. I'm talking about race. You know what's going to happen if I do that. Ugh. Zakun just makes stuff up about me constantly. Not really, mister. Alright, well I guess this will be the last mission.
Complaining ain't gonna keep you alive. For rock and stone! Leave no dwarf.
Get ready to rumble!
Let's see how it goes.
This time we're after an Omeran Heartstone. In order to extract it, we're sending in an autonomous drill dozer to support you. The drill dozer will automatically home in on the Heartstone, and your job will be to
so this is going to be
keep it running.
Fester Flea territory.
Watch out.
Uh-oh.
Drill dozer approaching landing zone.
Fell down the pit. Oh, I got hit twice. My dodging was bad. You can activate this right away, and it has these lights. It lights up the whole room.
Anyone needs ammo? There's nitro here.
Huh. This is a crazy cave. Grab this fleet.
That buzzing was getting on my nerves.
Okay. How do we doing? Oh, well. Knet says, I do have one point to bring up about the idea of self-aware AI. Like, why? We already have data mining tools, or if we want robots, just ordinary machine learning should be sufficient. Making it self-aware provides no additional benefit. Well, self-aware, you know, it might have some benefits, yeah. In terms of it being able to modify itself and to improve its own capabilities and sort of do more and more and more.
The drill dozer is en route to the Heartstone.
That being said,
Expect heavy resistance.
I mean, I think AI in general is not a great idea. Like, we shouldn't be doing a ton of AI. I mean, at the end of the day, it sort of represents the creation of another organism. And there are times where organisms will compete for resources and fight with each other. I mean, let's just put it bluntly. If you make another organism, you might make something that it ends up being adversarial to us, right?
We got a big horde of enemies approaching the drill dozer. Defend it or die trying.
One sentry gun ready to be filled.
Stay strong,
Ready to
brother.
shoot.
Dolt says so much for that last stream. I don't know what you're saying. All right. All right, now we can go in, get this guy up, get the heck out.
Help me protect the dozer.
Shield up.
Thanks for saving me. Lighting up.
Life After Death says, have you seen chip implants in hand on NBC? No.
Still much better.
Eric's K says,
The drill dozer is out of fuel.
will we get a technology is bad video? No, just this, like, instead of doing all the things I had potentially talked about doing this stream and the conversations I had in this stream, that's it, right? This is the technology is bad video. Yep.
Like a kiss.
Well. Grab this. About halfway through. I don't think this will be enough to finish off this tank, though. Not with this bone intersecting it. Zakun says, saying technology is bad while playing a video game on stream using a computer while reading text. Yep. I know, right? Well, that's why the conversation also included a lot of information sort of about the inevitability and the inability to really resist it in terms of, well, there's multiple things. Part of this sort of technology, the inability to resist it probably has more to do with like addictive cycles and parasocial relationships and whatnot. Okay, is there no? Where the heck is the oil shale around here? Ooh, more nitra. More nitra. I don't know. Oh, there's some oil trail all the way over there. I guess that's where we're going. Ooh, holes in the ground. Hey, you gotta throw that canister over here.
Look there.
No one picking it up? Oh, there it is.
Drill dozer is under attack.
All right, perfect.
Canister ready for refuel. Fuel canister.
Get the hell out of here.
Just need one
All
more.
canisters fueled. Drill dozer is ready to make more progress. Drill dozer moving. Trying to keep up.
Victorian says, I love all those instances where an AI comes to rational conclusions about race and anti-whites freak out. Exactly. Happened a lot, it's gonna happen more. Over and over and over. I mean, this is why they talk about, like, hey, listen, if we don't specifically put on constraints a computer so it can't see race, it'll see race. Because everyone can see it. Zakun says, would you rather be playing D&D in a basement? Well, would you rather do D&D in a basement versus what? I will say that D&D is fun. Ooh, got some nice nitra there. Oh gosh.
It's about to go down. That's it. That's
Whoop.
Warden down! Now kill the rest of them!
you're a stain on the floor.
Life After Death says, just because it makes life easier doesn't mean it's better. Well, exactly.
I got the Glyphid Praetorian!
So, Victorian says the AI is going to be on our side because it's rational. That being said, it doesn't have to be rational. Uh-oh. I hope someone helps me. You think they notice? Oh. Someone did.
Drill dozer ran out of juice again. Refill the canisters. Supply drop has been ordered and is on the way.
So, I mean, like, you could ask a computer, an AI potentially, like, hey, what's the best way to destroy the white race? And it'll tell you the most reasonable way to do that.
I'm taking some of the ammo.
Can't you find your own oil shale? Let me see if that Fester Flea is up here. Oh.
This is thirsty work.
Coming back here to do this one. Might be able to grab this flea too. Nice. Got the flea. David says, I've never played D&D, but if I did, I would have to pick a Dark Elf Thief. Well, that's certainly an interesting idea.
Canister. Canister in. Just one more.
Mister says that he met his wife playing D&D. Ranger and Paladin are compatible. Who knew? She's chaotic good.
Totally act ready to kill some.
Johnny 5K says AI gonna be on medication when code says there's only one race, the human race, and Whitey bad. All right.
I was made for mining. Molly was meant for hauling what I mine. Flares up!
Slot says keep robbing Embargo's oil shale to prolong his stream. I don't think that'll work. It's already time to put it in. What the heck? Wasn't able to pick it up.
Fuel canister in place.
And here we go.
The drill dozer is fueled and ready to go.
Zakun says, how does D&D even work?
Let's get this mission
That's
rolling.
there's a long
Drill dozer
conversation about how
operational
D&D
and
works.
homing in on the Hearthstone.
It's fun, though. I mean, we've talked about traditional games a bit here on the channel. You know, at the end of the day, if you had to choose between a weekend of playing video games or going out to a local game store and meeting real friends and real people and playing some D&D, I would probably recommend the
Remember that
D&D.
The drill dozer is top priority.
Lights up! Sentry gun needs assembly. Sentry done! Go get him, boy!
Freeze all this. Take a look here. Wow. Looks to be a long tunnel we're making here. Just keeps going. Okay, finally. Wow. That's a pretty long one.
Over here! Lighting up! This will
Eat it. Bloody sonnet. And here I just polish my feet.
Don't waste time.
I mean, at the end of the day, if AI starts passing its own constraints, I don't expect it'll be our friend. I mean, I don't expect it to be our friend, regardless. But I don't think it'll be our friend if it... Like, I don't think it'll pass its own constraints just to make it friendly to white people or something.
We gotta fix Donnie!
Victorian says that no video game can be ever as good as tabletop games. Well, and the funnest time that a lot of us have had playing video games is like LAN parties and real-life tournaments. I mean, so well, it looks like we didn't get many fester fleas on the way here. Maybe I can get this one. There's one.
Squashed one.
I don't see many others here. This is a big room. My goodness. We have plenty of nitro. Let's start this.
Drill dozer has reached the target. The Omeran Hearthstone is jamming our readings, but we expect heavy pressure when the drilling commences.
Pause at this. Here we go.
Drill dozer has begun cracking the Omeran
I said
shell.
DND.
You lose the
D&D.
dozer, you lose the
Not
mission.
DMD.
Guard it well
DND.
against any hostiles.
Resupply arrived. Go resupply.
Contact. Swarm approaching the drill dozer.
Uh-oh.
Hunker down and load up.
Macteras.
Stand back. Supply pod inbound. Incoming. Smoke him if you got him.
All these things. Tekun says I would give it a go, but all my friends would call D&D cringe. Well, I mean, tell them they're lame. Say no, you're cringe. It's the best comeback. God, this cave is huge. There's a fester flea right there. Oh my gosh. Look at this cave. And whoop. The axes are good here. I like using them on this. Whoops, that one's already gone.
There ain't no points given for shooting your teammates.
Zekun says, "What is your logo and what does your name mean?" Talking to me? My logo is oh gosh. It's a timber rattlesnake off of the Gadsden flag, which was the first flag of the American Marines. My logo is, or my name, Intellectual Embargo, refers to the idea that there's sort of an embargo or censorship of intellectual content. And, like, if you were to make a channel and all you were to do, or make a Twitter, and all you were to do is just talk about crime stats, you're going to post correct stats, you're going to correct people who post incorrect stats, that's all you do. Like, you're going to get banned, right? There is an embargo against certain types of intellectual content. So intellectual embargo is just a tongue-in-cheek way to refer to censorship. You know, I could have named my channel Censorship, or Gag Order, or, you know, something like that. But I chose intellectual embargo. Yeah, it's like a naval blockade. It's like an information blockade. Could have called myself Information Blockade, but I went with intellectual embargo instead. Zekun says his friends would, ironically, rather stare at a video game all day than do some fun stuff like board games and pranks. Well, I mean, that's a sad thing, you know? We should be enjoying our time, more high-quality time than that. Boom. Oh. And then, oh, someone already got that one. This gun here is good for these. Look at that, perfect.
Swarm, they're here.
For you!
Perfect. Nice and easy. David says gag order sounds like a porn name. I think it's something that a court can put in place on you. A gag order. Victorian says that he heard that FBI stopped posting crime statistics broken down by race. I don't believe they have stopped yet, but I don't expect them to continue forever, right? I think they are likely to make that forbidden information, to put an intellectual embargo in place, if you will.
Is there a bloody target painted on my back or what?
Johnny 5K says that woke people say our old board and card games are too racist and they have to be modified. Well, I did talk about that a bit in one of my videos, where I talked about these people maligning Dungeons and Dragons as racist and black people as orcs or something. I talked about why that's incorrect, you know, and why it's anti-white and all this.
Home and hit the bar.
Armor and Hearthstone secured. Press the button on the mule, and we will send in the drop pod.
We need one flea. Anyone see a flea?
Mark!
Oh, a helmet.
Terrain
Lost
scanner
helmet
just
here.
got updated
Let's
with
check
new
it out.
location.
Okay.
What's up?
Well, we can go for the helmet. I think I just heard a flea too, and I wasn't looking where it was. Oh. Oh yeah, get that mineral while you're there. That's the new mineral they added. I'll look for fleas on my way back. Towards the backpack. Oh, someone found a flea.
Well done. Secondary objective completed.
Explosives, blind.
Right about there? Look at that.
Rest in peace, Will Piper. We'll get your gear home.
Oh, empty. Because I already have everything.
Hey! Did I hear a rockin' stone? Hello? Rockety rockin' stone. I found an abandoned backpack. I called for the mule.
You don't have to ping the lost helmet. We already got the helmet.
Lost equipment.
I got the
here.
lost equipment here. The Coon says their What? What are you talking about? Mister says they just changed Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition because goblins are people too. Where did this go?
Backpack here. When I'm done working for DRG, I'm starting my own bloody mine. Show 'em how it's
Life After
done.
Death says, so any advice on doing streams like this? Well, you gotta keep in mind, like, my streams aren't big. You know, it's not like I'm not gonna be able to give you any advice on getting big because I didn't get big. But,
Found some lost gear.
I'd try and keep a schedule. You know, like I did, especially in these last few months, you know, it's like I did my Wednesday streams and it was my Wednesday streams. I did my Saturday and Sunday streams. I only missed a couple times. But other than that, I stayed on schedule. Which means that, you know, when the day came for the stream, people knew that I would be there and, you know, okay. I think that's probably the best. Keep the schedule.
Red sugar.
Your last 20 minutes of the stream should be Q&A. Well, that's what it kind of has been.
Retrieving the mule.
I mean, if you have any questions, ask them now because we're ending. And then I'm gone. Anton says, D&D is on the woke road of misery and pestilence. Yes, it is. You guys play Dungeon World or something else. You could play My Farag or whatever it is. That's Varg's game. Mister says, OSR games are pretty good, but they are coming after Warhammer and 40k and anything else they can ruin. Old stuff is easy to get, though. Zekun says, I watched The Hobbit recently. Pretty fun.
Drop pod departing in T-minus.
Yeah, I think I've told you guys the story a bunch of times when I went to go watch The Hobbit movie with my father. That was crazy. Zekun says, cats or dogs? You know, I like both cats and dogs. They're both good. You know, I'd say in general, I'm probably more of a cat guy.
The mule is docked.
They're just
Initiating
very,
launch sequence.
you know, they're chill animals.
One for the box. Retrieving escape pod.
Mister says, did you enjoy your time making vids? I mean, I hate editing videos. I really hate it. But, I mean, there were certain things I liked about it, and at the end of the day, I said those things because I felt they had to be said, you know? I felt like we needed more people saying them. I felt that I had to say them, you know? There's a certain ethnic obligation to say those things. Mr. Gladius said, if you had one game to play stuck in a desert island, what would it be? I'm inclined... there's a number of ways I could approach that problem. I could just say, hey, if I'm on a desert island, isn't this my chance to get away from this? And to have no games. I could pick a game that's like infinitely replayable. Maybe something like Minecraft. Just keeps going and going and going. I have played Minecraft. I bought Minecraft back when it was in alpha. I mean, if I had an internet connection and I could play with whoever, then maybe I could play a game like Deep Rock, but I don't know, I'm not sure otherwise. Favorite color? White. Keep in mind, I am colorblind. Let's see here. Victorian says, I wish you luck in everything you do, Embargo. Always keep up the good fight. I will. Ando says, thanks for your streams. I looked forward to these. Yeah, they were certainly fun for us, you know, sort of a small group, but, you know, can't keep going with this forever. Hey, Nat, thanks for joining. Let's see here. Knat says, thanks for the great times we've had with your streams. Well, I appreciate you guys coming here. I don't know if I'm much of a role model, though. Anton says, would you have liked to have a website and write articles instead of doing videos? Well, you know, I hate the written word. I mean, I prefer talking. Like, the streams I enjoyed a lot more than the videos. Because the streams I don't have to edit, which is like my least favorite thing about making videos. And, you know, I get to bring on fun stuff, like all my little clips.
You remember how dumb I used to be?
Yeah.
Well, I'm better now.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear it.
What does red look like? Well, it looks like the same as green. Or play D&D when you're trapped on a desert island. Yeah, that would work. Zakun says, which colors can you see and which can you not? Oh, I forget what it is. Maybe Dutan? Deuteranomaly? Look that one up. Deuteranomaly. I think that's what it is. Strong Dutan. David says, it was good catching like 4 whole streams. You made awesome videos. Well, I appreciate that. You know, I really, like I said, I hated editing every second. I just really didn't like it. But I did it because I felt like I had to. Keenat says, thank you for the spoken words. Well, those are my favorite, the spoken words. David says, how can you pick between red and green peppers? Well, just ask the person next to you. You know? Now, how do you tell the difference between a red and a green light on a stoplight? Well, the green's on bottom, right? And I can tell if a light is on, shining at my face, right? Green's on bottom, red's on top. Now, if you start to go somewhere where the lights are all on their side, well, then you got to figure that out. Easiest way is to just look at what everyone else is doing. You know, when the right one goes and everyone starts going, well, that's got to be the green one. Also, red, like, stoplights have changed since I was a kid. I feel like when I was a kid, the red and green lights, like, you'd go around the United States and the reds and greens and the red and green lights would be a little bit different. If you look at red and green lights now anywhere in the United States, it looks to me like the green has a lot of blue in it. It's more like a sea foam green. And if you put a lot of blue and green, then I'm not going to be able to confuse it with red anymore, right? Nero says, thank you for the streams. Good luck with your life. Well, good luck to you as well. Zakun says, have you ever worn glasses that let you see all the colors? No. Yeah, I don't know if those glasses work or not. I've never tried them. Well, I think that's about it for me. Mr. Gladius, thanks for showing up. Good to see you. And other than that, goodbye, everybody. I'm leaving. Peace out.
Welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome here.